Welcome everyone to IsisParenting's Breastfeeding Chat and Learn. My name is Nancy Holtzman. I'm a mom and baby nurse educator, board certified lactation consultant, board certified in pediatrics, mom of two teenagers. Well, actually, one is almost not a teenager anymore. And we are here at ISIS Parenting's home office in Needham, Massachusetts. Joining me today, as most Thursdays, is my colleague and friend Becky Morgan, who is the mother of three young gentlemen and also a childbirth educator and a licensed massage therapist. And today, as part of our breastfeeding webinar series, we're going to celebrate baby wearing because it's International Baby Wearing Week. And I just had a great time going through these photos, which are client submissions of ISIS parenting families and friends. And actually, I found some vintage photos of myself that I stuck in there for good measure. I think it's the first time I've put a picture of myself in a breastfeeding webinar. I wanted to start off by mentioning that all over the world, babies are carried and have been carried since the very beginning of time. My baby is 18 years old, and I did baby wear her and carry her, and there's some pictures of that later on. And I just remember that when I would wear her around, I used to get a lot of comments, and actually at the time, I could sell baby slings out of the trunk of my car, and I never went out without a couple of the most basic colors or patterns in the back of my station wagon. Store and then take them up to the parking lot and sell them a sling. That was awesome. But I also certainly ran lots and lots of breastfeeding support groups and new mothers groups, and the Great Beginnings New Mothers Group, in fact, it was, and sold many, many, many hundreds of slings every year through that program. Back then, you really didn't walk into a store and buy a sling or a carrier unless you wanted a Snuggly or maybe a Baby Bjorn. But slings and carriers were kind of a fringe element. You had to make one or know somebody or mail away for it. And the moms that would come through my groups would tell me the feedback, or if they came and brought their own moms or mother-in-laws into the groups, they would say to me, the mother-in-laws, the mothers would say, "These are so wonderful. It's so great to have the baby so close. I wish they had those when my baby was young." And there I would have to laugh a little bit inside it because that was the most common comment. I wish they had those when my babies were young. Long before there were strollers and car seats, long before there was the invention of the wheel, long before there was fire, before we could cook our food, before we could speak with words, we had a way of carrying babies all over the world for 100,000 generations. I'm not an evolution biologist, so I don't know how many 100,000 years ago that was and how many generations ago that was, but it was, sometime between the dinosaurs and the printing presses. But when we walked on 2 feet and moved from one place to another and hunted and gathered, we had a way of carrying our babies. In cold regions, it was done with animal skins and furs. In hot regions, it was done with vines and woven uh, branches and things like that. Um, every culture in every part of the world, going far, far back, has a of their hands, and they also have the grasp reflex of their toes when they're born. And the belief of that is that it brings us back to our furrier days, and that our closest relatives, the chimpanzees, those babies are born, and the mother holds the baby close to her body until really within just a couple of weeks, the baby is able to hold and cling on himself to the fur. So baby wearing is nothing new. It's nothing newfangled. It's a way of survival. There are so many different kinds of carriers. I like this beautiful picture because it shows the four most common carriers. So let's see. I'll get fancy if I can and figure out. I can never remember. No, it's not that. I can never remember where to get my pointer from. Oh, hold on a minute. Here. Pointer. There we go. That's so cool. So this carrier here, looks like a hot sling to me. I think they're not made anymore, but you can certainly find patterns and you can find similar slings. It's not an adjustable sling, so it's just a big loop of fabric, and you have to have it sized very precisely to the wearer. So if two parents are very different sizes, it might be tricky for one sling to work for two people. But otherwise, it's a very simple sling. It folds up as small as a pillowcase, so it fits easily in a diaper bag. And you can use it, once you learn the skill, use it in a million different positions. This is a wrap, like a Moby wrap or a boba wrap, or a rebozo wrap, like a giant long scarf that can be configured in different ways. This is what we call a soft structured carrier, like an ergo or a boba, and it can be used in the front pack or the backpack position. And then this lovely lady is using a ring sling, and it's called a ring sling because there's a pair of these are metal rings here. So we have at ISIS, we have the Sakura Bloom is a beautiful silk ring sling, and let's see, the Maya Wrap was a popular ring sling, and then you'll see me wearing something called the over-the-shoulder baby holder, which was the greatest ring sling, but it's not popular anymore because it was a little bit puffy and bulky. But it's still probably my favorite style of sling, these ring slings, because they're so easy to use and versatile once you learn. There's not one perfect sling that I would recommend. I think there's great slings for newborns, and then there's great carriers as babies get older. Sometimes they're and a different type of carrier for when you are out and about or hiking and so on. And if you're a carrier connoisseur and you wear your baby a lot, you certainly may have a small wardrobe of carriers. Using a carrier is great for breastfeeding, and it's also great if you're not breastfeeding. So here's, I think, 4 pictures of various types of slings and carriers with moms nursing on the go. But I think the rest of the pictures you're going to see are almost all dads wearing their babies. So here's a mom who's nursing an infant who looks to me about 2.5 months old in a soft structured carrier. Then we've got, again, something like a pouch sling, like a hot sling style. A ring sling, I would do just this way, head opposite the rings, and this can offer some support. Also, if a mom has something like MS, or has some kind of a weakness or an illness or something like that, actually breastfeeding using a sling can really help her offer some support to the baby. And sometimes we'll use slings for moms that have physical limitations, if she's in a wheelchair or she needs to use a cane or crutches to get around due to existing health situations. Again, using a sling or carrier can help with her mobility. And of course, a carrier can help you have some privacy for a toddler who needs to focus and settle down a little bit. Another beautiful thing about baby wearing is that all parents and caregivers can enjoy it. Grandparents can enjoy baby wearing, dads, non-biological moms, adoptive parents, especially in this skin to skin around the house. And true skin to skin, if mom is not wearing a bra and baby is not wearing a shirt, just a diaper, and the naked baby in just a diaper is and then if you're doing kangaroo care or just regular skin to skin, you could just put a receiving blanket or lightweight blanket over the two of you to keep you warm. But there's many benefits to that physical contact. It's also really great for prolactin and oxytocin hormones for moms that are nursing. And I just think it's wonderful, again, for non-biological parents or non-nursing parents to wear the baby, because a lot of nursing moms focus on pumping milk so that the partner can feed the milk, and the partner, of course, usually is taking care of the diapers. And there's a lot more to nurturing and bonding with a baby than putting food in and taking it out the other end. There's many equally and more pleasurable aspects of parenting and nurturing and nourishing a baby. I also just put in a little link here for co-bathing. So that's something I talk about on Twitter quite a bit, and I storified a little tweet stream about that, and so you can go back and click this link, or you can click it now and save it, look at it later. If you haven't taken a bath with your baby in the bathtub, or better yet, have your partner do it, it's a beautiful experience and it's really fun. Baby wearing is a great key part of breastfeeding support item that, again, has very little to do with breastfeeding necessarily, but certainly can help the breastfeeding family, because I spend also a fair amount of my time talking down parents from anxieties regarding their fussy baby, or their baby who wants to nurse and doze and cries as soon as he or she is put down, or wakes up and cries very quickly and seems to want to nurse again. As many of you have heard me say over and over again, between weeks 3 to 8 are the hardest weeks in the life of a new mom and a baby, because young babies essentially do 3 things. They eat, they sleep, and they fuss. And if they're not eating or sleeping, chances are you're actively involved in trying to keep your baby content. And babies do have a reflex, and I think you've all heard of the Moro reflex, the startle reflex. If you have a young baby under 2 months old and you'd like to experience the Moro reflex, lay platter, nice and secure, and then raise them up about a foot, and then move your hands down swiftly and rapidly while you're supporting your baby, and you will see the Moro reflex. That exaggerates the reflex, but you'll see your baby's hands, their arms will extend out, and then their hands will flash open, and their body will startle. And babies are actually programmed and designed to protest the sensation of being put down. And that is, again, a survival instinct. In the old days, a baby that was put down in the forest would swiftly be eaten by an animal. So your babies, although they are potentially safe at home in the bassinet, their little biological brains don't necessarily think they are. And we are a close contact species. Babies want to feel contained, and they want to feel movement. Remember, in utero, your babies experience flexion, their bodies, their arms and legs were flexed close to their bodies, and a lot of rhythmic movement. Every time you walked, they felt that gentle, rhythmic bobbing sensation, and that did something inside the inner ear, which feeds a message to the brain that tells the body that it's in motion, and that's called vestibular motion, and that's the easiest and quickest way to lull a baby. And so these magic tools right here are the physio ball, the sling, and it's a magic pair to put your baby in a sling or a carrier and then sit on the physio ball and get a nice rhythmic bounce going. That will trigger vestibular motion relaxation in your baby, and that is the easiest way to sit at the dinner table during the fussy time, or to sit in front of your computer and check your email. So if you have a baby that always wants to be held, and will sleep on your lap on the couch for an hour or 2 in the afternoon, but as soon as you try to put your baby down, your baby will very swiftly be awake and fussing, then use baby carrier and the physio ball, and then you can sit in front of your computer, or you can putter around and get stuff done. But these things all together, vestibular motion, and the lazy way to do vestibular motion at home is on the physio ball, a slinger carrier that is comfortable and easy for you to use around the house, learning how to do a snug swaddle with the arms down, and then having continuous white noise going during nap and nighttime. Babies do need to be carried, and parents do need to have their hands free, and a young baby's wants and needs are one and the same. When your baby protests being put down, it's not because they're spoiled and they're not trying to manipulate you. They're not asking for anything that's unhealthy or bad for them. They're not asking to stay up later or for Saturday morning cartoons, or they're not asking for junk food. They're just simply saying, hold me, keep me close, move me around, make me feel secure. Can I suckle a little bit more? More milk, they're asking for things that are healthy and good for them. However, babies need that. Parents need their hands free. We live in the real world, and even if you're not a second or third time mom or more, you need your hands free. I mean, you need to eat your lunch sometimes. You need to go pee sometimes. You want to check your email. There's things that you need to do. And every time you try to put your 3-week-old or your 5-week-old down, within 20 minutes, he or she is probably awake and flailing and fussing. So again, it's not a negative thing that your baby wants to be held so much. It's normal and expected. It doesn't make it easy. What will make it easier is figuring out a way to hold and wear your baby so your hands are free. I know that we have 2 moms, at least, of twins here in the chat room today. And I can assure you that when you have twins, one baby may be down and content, and that certainly doesn't mean the other one is. So being able to get one baby down and settled and then have the other baby in a sling or carrier so that baby is content as well, again, is going to make life a little bit easier for you. Now, second and third time moms, and this photo was submitted by one of my friends on Twitter. Beautiful, beautiful picture. It made me think a little bit about how second-time moms need a sling or carrier even more, because you don't have that luxury of getting a baby down or in the swing for a little while and having free time. There's always another little child there that needs your time and attention. So by wearing your baby and keeping your baby content, you can make a puzzle or interact with your other child. Your other child is constantly going to need snacks, make sandwiches for them. Commonly, when I was out with my children shopping in the mall, I would see moms with 2 children, because of course a lot of my friends had 2 kids too when I had 2 kids, and sometimes a newborn or a baby would be in the stroller, and then the toddler would do something, run off or get into trouble, get into mischief, and you need to go and rescue them. And moms would walk away from the baby stroller and leave the baby stroller unattended for a few moments at a time. And again, wearing the baby in a sling or carrier means that you're mobile and your baby is always with you. So that's just another thing to think about in terms of safety and security. And then, of course, you need your hands free to help your older child with the potty, and you need your hands free so you can go pee. You're really talented if you can walk into the bathroom and use the bathroom with your baby in the sling or carrier, but moms do it all the time. It's just necessity. Another really nice benefit about wearing your baby is the fact that the baby is at the level of social interaction, and the visual stimulation for them is so beneficial. And this is where you get the social development and the cognitive development that you just don't get when the baby is in the stroller with the hood up. They are a little bit more detached, and I'm not saying stroller, but I would always have my sling or carrier in the basket of the stroller, because I'm sure many of you know that midway through a walk, your baby may get fussy and wants to be picked up. So it's very common that you'll see a parent holding the baby while pushing the stroller. So why not anticipate that that's going to happen and bring the carrier with you? I also used to like to do the supermarket shopping with my baby in the sling or the carrier, and then I would use the stroller to put the groceries or the errand stuff in. So that's another option. But you can see how at this level, the baby can make eye contact with other people, and people will talk to the baby as a person rather than looking down at the baby in the stroller as an object. I also want to just mention my thoughts on the passive recline. And passive recline is the position that typically American babies assume most of the time, unless somebody's holding them or carrying them. So babies tend to be on their backs, whether they're on a play mat on the floor or in a recline position, which would be the stroller or the car seat or the bouncer seat or the swing. And in that position, they're putting pressure on the back of the head, and they're not working on head control and upper body strength and neck muscles at all. And so I think people know that since we shifted over to the Back to Sleep campaign a dozen years ago, we've been seeing more and more issues with babies that have flattening in the back of the head. And so wearing the baby, just like holding the baby, takes pressure off the back of the head, and it allows nice round head development. But you can see in this picture here which baby is going to be getting a little bit more social interaction and stimulation. Head and neck muscles as well. When you're holding and wearing your baby, by 3 months, your baby's going to have pretty good head control when they're awake, and they will swivel their head and look side to side. They'll lift their chin up so they can peek over your shoulder, and they're doing a lot more active participation than they would be in a stroller. Wearing your baby creates personal space, which I call, get your germy hands off my baby. When you're in a store and a stranger comes up in the stroller and seems to think it's fair game that they can put their filthy, germy finger in your baby's fist, which of course is going to go directly in your baby's mouth. You don't think I have a feeling about that, do you? Or you're at a party or a family gathering and people seem to want to play past the baby. So when the baby's in the car seat or the stroller, people may ask to hold the baby, and if the baby is in a sling or carrier, they become part of your personal space, and you can also hold them off by saying, "Oh, she's content right now. When I take her out, of course you can hold her, and then maybe that time will never come." The other thing I wanted to mention about this is you can also take a step back. So if people are getting too close and they're invading your personal space and you're wearing your baby, your body is the personal space. So you can turn a little or some kind of social restaurant setting, and it looks like he's holding an alcoholic beverage. So he's out partying with his son on his hip, which I just think is awesome. And then here's another of my tweets who sent in this side-by-side photo of her baby, Babywearing it at 2 different stages. She's got the infant insert, the newborn insert with the ergo in the first image. She looks a lot more rested at 7 months, doesn't she? So take heed, ladies. There is hope for you. Now here's some beautiful dad photos. Babywearing around the house is awesome because young babies often will fuss when they are put down and ignored. And so if you can just include them into your activities, they typically will be a lot more content. And here are some ISIS dads babywearing out and about. And I love getting these kids out in nature. This is an interesting picture all the way on the right because that's it looks like quite an extravagant backpack apparatus with a little sunshade, and looks like they're a real nature family, which I think is awesome. In the middle is another tweet friend of ours, Jason Escape, and you can follow him on Twitter. He's quite entertaining. I also wanted to mention that something like a Moby wrap or a sling or a carrier, and then put an oversized jacket or a fleece zipper, a fleece type or a windbreaker over the 2 of you. I didn't really get into too much to how to wear your baby and safety and so on, but I do just want to mention that when you're wearing your baby in the front, you should always be able to visualize your baby's face. And you should always be able to kiss the top of your baby's head, and the baby's butt should not be lower than your belly button. And that has to do especially with a young baby in terms of airway, making sure that, that the baby is not curled up deep and low in a sling where you can't see what's going on with them. So you can wear your baby against your regular clothes and then put a jacket or something over the 2 of you, as long as you can still see and visualize your baby's face and assure that they're getting plenty of air and a nice straight airway. And then for warm weather, baby wearing is nice because especially those car seats get so hot for babies. They're basically like an insulated thermos or an insulated cooler. It's hard plastic. Then there's styrofoam and filler, and then there's quilting, and then the quilting usually goes over the baby's head. I'm talking about like the infant bucket car seats. And so in the summertime, or when you go to Florida in February, your baby is essentially, in a warm cooler with insulation and then a winter hood over his head. And so they will get a lot more air flow in a carrier. And you can use sunscreen sparingly for infants if they are in direct sunlight. I do think that there are also really nice products. We have one called, I think it's called Rosk, which is a great sun, rain, and wind protective cover for almost all baby carriers. It works with almost all baby carriers. I'm wrapping up here. Don't worry. I'll get to some questions. I like this photo because it shows the convenience of baby wearing out and about. And here's a dad who is taking the T, which is the Boston term for public transportation, like a subway or a train or a trolley. Boston is an old city, and many of these stations are not handicapped accessible, and it's very challenging to go up and down the stairs of the escalator with a stroller. And wearing your baby, especially if you have to commute, if you commute with your baby to bring them to daycare at work or something like that, and it's really crowded, you're really going to do better with your baby in a carrier rather than a stroller. And as I mentioned earlier too, it's nice to wear your baby when you're doing errands because they get that social interaction and that visual stimulation. And it's much easier to navigate doorways and narrow aisles and crowds if you're wearing your baby rather than with the stroller. Yes, here's some vintage photos. Okay, let's see. So let me get my pointer again. So here is me 18 years ago, and that's my daughter Julia, who is a preemie. She was only 3.5 pounds when she was born, but in this picture I think she's probably like 8 months old or so. And I'm using a padded sling, like I said, an over-the-shoulder baby holder. We went to the farm to pick apples and get pumpkins, and they had like the 3 little pigs, and we were looking at them. This is Julia in a crappy old backpack that I got at a yard sale for $5, and we used it for like a million years. And the reason I like this one too is because it had a frame, and so like if she fell asleep and you brought her inside, you could open up that frame and she would just sleep like that. Now this is me, I think probably 15 years ago maybe, and I like this photo because I think I look nice and trim and fit and tight. I don't think I've looked that good for a while, but dig that headband and the big round glasses. Now here's 2 babies, and this is the over-the-shoulder baby holder sling that I still love so much. Sling anymore because we now know that it's not a great situation for. Oh, I hear we lost audio. How far back did we lose audio? Anyway, you can tell me. Where did I stop? I'll pick it up again. Nobody wants to tell me? Did you hear me talking about going to the farm? I'm trim. Okay. Becky says I'm trim. Yes, wasn't I trim? And look at my arms look muscular. I was going to the gym. You don't want to use a sling like this because this baby looks okay. This baby here is curled forward and the chin is tucked down toward the chest, and we know that that decreases oxygenation. So now I would sling twins by having them both in the straight up and down position. I also want to point out this is the original Great Beginnings room, and back here is a breastfeeding poster. Memories. Okay, let's see what else. And here is my friend Kate. Babywearing has all kinds of fun little costume potentials. I thought this was adorable what she did with her baby Bjorn, very creative. You can, I think, get instructions if you're interested. She blogged about that. This was a couple years ago because her little guy is 3 now, but I remember that she posted about it on her blog. And here's another one of my Thursday. I am going to answer the questions. There's 3 questions. I'm going to answer them. Come back next Thursday. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. I'm willing to take suggestions. And always, these are recorded and live on the same page that brought you here today. So you can look back on previous topics, so you can refer them to your friends and enemies. And please do help us by spreading the word. Follow me on Twitter, follow ISIS on Twitter, and please do sign up for our week-by-week newsletter, which I did about 80% of the work on. And since it goes from the 7th week of pregnancy to the 3rd year of life, I believe that was 190 weeks worth of content I had to generate over the summer. So I would appreciate if you take advantage of it. Now, here's a couple of questions from a mom who says she's had a terrible cold, her pumping has dropped. She assumes it's because she's sick. How long should it take to get back to normal? Should she be taking action to increase supply, or will that happen naturally? Can't pump anymore at work, so baby's been getting a lot from the freezer. And she should note that she is staying hydrated and not taking any decongestants or medications. I'm so glad you mentioned that last part, because that, of course, that was going to be my next question. Let me just comment on colds and allergies, because I get that question all the time, and what is okay and what's not okay to take. Benadryl is okay to take as an antihistamine if you need to. Benadryl also doubles as a low-grade sleeping pill for adults, and so 50 milligrams of Benadryl could potentially make you drowsy, so that's the drawback there. But it is an antihistamine. It's not a decongestant. Sudafed. Now, Sudafed has changed its content over the last few years, because the original kind of Sudafed contained something called pseudoephedrine, and that's the good kind of Sudafed. It's still available, but you need to show your license and sign for it. It's usually behind the counter at the drugstore or the pharmacy, and that's because I guess people buy lots of it and do bad things with it. But pseudoephedrine is effective for congestion, but it will decrease milk production. I do not recommend that for breastfeeding moms. The Sudafed that you can buy directly over the counter actually if you are that congested, you want to use a saline rinse, like a neti pot